Okay, cool. Hello, everyone. Welcome to PolkaWorld Broadcast, and Kristen here. It's great to have Thomas and Lisa from Twins with us today. I'm also very happy that we have a Pac-Man co-hosting this broadcast. Okay.
Great to be here.
Yeah. Hello, Lisa.
Hello, Kristen.
Yeah.
Very nice to be here.
Yeah. And today we will dive into tokenized gold in Polkadot and RWA and so on. And I think start with we can start with the journey of you two guys. I'm very curious to know, that was Twins your first entrepreneurial venture, and could you share what the experience has been like for you as founders? And we can start from Thomas. And I know that you love traveling, and has the entrepreneurial life changed your lifestyle?
Yeah, who would you like to go first? Lisa, do you want to jump in?
Thomas, I think you're the one to start here.
Oh, yeah, okay. Sorry, there was a little bit of cutout, so I didn't hear that. Sure. No, Twin is not my first project within the space. I actually took a very ambitious project back in 2017, so many years ago now, to the FCA, which is the regulator in England, and the project was an alternative for people to contribute or to save for their retirement. So an alternative to a pension scheme. I saw that rather than investing or putting monthly contributions into a fund that somebody else manages, what about if you managed your own retirement fund in crypto? It was too premature, and actually I believe that even if we went to the FCA today, some of the questions could still not be answered. Nevertheless, that really got me interested and focused within alternative and new financial instruments. Since then, I've gone on to co-found a lending and borrowing protocol. I've advised also several projects within the space, and it was really sort of a combination of good timing, both from the market's perspective, but also from our partner who provides us the gold, that we started Twin. We started thinking about Twin in mid 2022 and actually launching the brand in 2023.
Okay, cool. Lisa, how about you? You love reading and yoga. Do you still have time for your hobbies?
Well, not as much time as I would like to. So I sometimes end up listening to podcasts of favorite sort of authors. I'm more into, like science books, etc. So that's what I normally read is within science and quantum physics and all those fields. So I don't have much time to do that anymore, unfortunately. But regarding what has been my entrepreneurial ventures so far, actually, I started my first company straight out of university. So I've never actually been employed by anyone else except for part-time jobs whilst I was studying. So that was kind of, I've never been anything but an entrepreneur. So first company I started was within event marketing here in the Nordics, still exists today, but I exited, over 10 years ago. And second company was also within marketing. Again, company still around today, but I exited just around sort of COVID times. And that's also when I went into this DeFi Web3 space, and also together with Thomas co-founded a lending and borrowing platform, and then subsequently went on to advise and head up marketing for a few other projects in the space. And then, I think we'll get on to how Twin came about probably subsequently. So, but that's me, entrepreneur all the way.
Okay.
I just want to jump in and say, Lisa, it's a very good common thing. So I've also, Lisa and I both work in marketing. So
Yeah.
I don't know what free time means at all. I don't know if such a thing exists when you free time. You're working 24/7. But I've also never had a job since uni. I've always been, like doing my own thing. I think the only job I ever had was as a student working in a restaurant. And
Yeah.
I've never actually had a proper job. I've never made a CV or applied for a job, which is very
No,
interesting
no.
and nice to see like there's other people like me.
The only times I do CVs now is for centralized exchange listings, because you have to like
Yeah.
sometimes send their CVs. So that's like, okay, I need a CV.
Yeah,
I didn't even have LinkedIn until like last year or so, because I just never needed to have one. I know like people are very kind of keen on having like the presence and for like jobs and things. But like I think I've been fairly lucky there. But yeah, it's interesting that like, other people are similar.
Okay, it's cool. So I think the first topic I want to touch on is the inspirations for you guys to start with to start the twins. How did the idea for twins come about, and was there a light bulb moment or a specific inspiration? And could we start from Thomas?
Sure. So let's go back to mid 2022.
What?
I'm just checking. I keep going in and out. Are you hearing me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah,
Super,
absolutely. No
super,
problem.
super. Yeah, so if we go back to mid 2022, I still have actually a consultancy, but I was down in Guernsey for consultancy work, and I was introduced to who is now Twins exclusive partner, providing the gold, and actually we have other metals as well, silver, platinum, and palladium. And when I met the company, which is called Ravenscroft, they were looking for answers, because some of their clients that had physical gold were simply asking them, what's their, what is your ideas? How do you intend to stay sort of competitive in the market? And they were specifically talking about tokenization of their gold. And Ravenscroft at the time didn't really have an answer, but we then met and helped formulate. And I suddenly saw a huge opportunity, the huge opportunity, which is to get amazing assets like Guernsey gold and silver, but to open up the market exponentially, open it globally, essentially, where accessibility can be given to anyone, anywhere. So that was really where the coin dropped, was meeting who is now our partner, and being, understanding that we could help them and we could actually be their partner when it comes to tokenizing the metals that they bring to market.
Okay, thank you. And so Lisa, and when did you start, the twins? You met Thomas, and so he convinced you to join twins?
No, Thomas and I go way back. So we've known each other for, decades now. So we've been involved in many businesses together. So we not all our businesses we have been doing together, but a lot of them have also been where we've both been co-founders. So although he initially started exploring this idea first, when I was, briefed on this opportunity, I was more focused then on creating, the value proposition that Twin would bring to the market, because tokenizing gold, it's not like no one has done it before. Of course, there are tokenized gold providers out there. So I went to work basically analyzing how can we be different? What would be our unique selling points? What can we offer that others in the market are not offering? And of course, just also thinking about branding and sort of design and how we go to market, as a brand. That was also very much my focus, because when I did all the research on other types of tokenized gold, it was typically very almost like animation kind of images of gold coins floating in the air, and it didn't exude any of the sort of high value exclusiveness that gold actually is. When it's a bit like you wouldn't go to your local food supermarket and buy a designer handbag. It would ruin the whole experience for you. So and that's how I saw a lot of these other tokenized gold providers sort of approaching the market. It was like, the wrapping was totally wrong. So
kind of looking a little bit like a meme or a cartoon.
Yes. And
yeah.
you see it still today. I think some of them, actually, I was looking at a project I was researching back then, and I think they're very well aware of us now. So I feel like they've almost gone to try and copy a little bit. They've realized that, oh, this looks much better than what we're presenting. But it was very important for me. I've worked with very many high-end brands. I worked, for example, my company had Nespresso as a client for, I think, 10 or 12 years. And, they did this perfectly. When their patent expired, they realized that they had to position themselves differently from all the other, capsules you can buy in the supermarkets and put into the machine. So they created, the Nespresso Club, and, hired in George Clooney, and it created this sort of exclusivity around it. And it's really important how you position a product in order to create the appeal. So this is very much, part of what we were working on from the start, distinguishing ourselves on that front, but also on what's the unique value proposition. And what we then developed was this ability to earn a yield on your gold. And that is very unique in terms of what we're offering to the market.
Yeah, what a great journey. After all the exploring about the tokenized gold and RWAs, I think you guys have a deep understanding of what is RWAs. And I think, if for someone new to this space, and because there are some new users in our space, so how would you explain why RWA matters to them? And what gaps in traditional finance do they address?
Right.
So so who wanna start first? So Lisa.
Yeah, I mean, Lisa, go ahead.
Me first this time. Thanks. I think it depends. Usually when I speak to different people, it depends on who I'm speaking to and how I explain it. Because what I've seen is that it's very different reasons for why institutions like banks and BlackRock, etc., all of those, why are they so keen on tokenization? So they have their own sort of set of motivations that is sort of bringing them into the space of using blockchain technology for financial transactions. Whilst more on the crypto side, it's very different. What is the motivation behind it? Just because the DeFi community or crypto community or Web3 community, if you can call it that, we are much more ideologically driven. We want to see a better world. That's one of the things that appeals to a lot of people in this space. Whilst on the more institutional side is definitely like solving capital deployment inefficiency, basically reducing the amount of stages that money has to go from A to B, and it spends a long time and there's lots of fees, right? So for big financial institutions, that amounts to possibly billions each year, jointly at least. There's a lot to be saved on that, and that is a huge motivational factor on their side. But I think towards more of a crypto audience, a retail audience, is about fractionalization of assets. So being able to, for example, with gold, usually at least LBMA certified gold that we deal with, you have to buy it in usually bars or of different sizes. You have to have a lot of money in order to make the investment in the first place. With tokenization, we fractionalize these gold bars, making it possible to buy whatever sum you want to buy. If you have $100, you can buy gold for $100, you know, and it's still having that high certification, which means that it's very, you know, easy to trade because it's the type of gold that, you know, everyone wants. And I think, you know, the other part is in traditional finance, you can only trade, you know, within the business hours. So with tokenization, it's 24/7. You can buy and sell gold whenever you want. So it's just accessibility, you know, whenever you want. And then I think, you know, again, I think if we look at transparency, you see, in the traditional finance world, they're very worried about things like money laundering, you know. But and they kind of have heard so many bad things about like crypto and how it's been used for money laundering, but they perhaps don't see the other part, that in many ways blockchain technology can actually prevent money laundering. It's actually combating money laundering, and the crypto side sees that. But of course, we all know that, of course, anything can be misused. But with tokenization, you have to have KYC, KYB, AML, because it's bridging the two areas of TradFi and DeFi. So, you know, it's, I hope that explained it slightly well, but Thomas, you could probably have a stab at it as well.
Yeah, I mean, everything you said is absolutely correct. What I would also add is that tokenization, it's allowing assets that are normally sort of out of most people's reach. So, for example, you know, well, let's use gold, but we can go much further than gold. You know, uranium. Right now, I'm talking to somebody regarding a possible pilot to see how we could use our platform to tokenize assets like uranium, for example. I mean, how many people in the street own some uranium? And probably, well, not many. We know that. So, you know, it really, tokenization allows for a wealth of assets to suddenly become available, whether it's metals, whether it's minerals, whether it's agro commodities, whether it's you know, intellectual property. I mean, the list goes on and on. So this is why this is why institutions are really now waking up and understanding that tokenization isn't just it's not just a sort of the next fad or the next buzz. It really is an evolution within financial services, and for retail, it's super exciting because you can have inside your wallet all sorts of different assets, valuable assets that are performing well in the market. But these assets, you know, before, you would never have stood a chance to own them. I mean, if you want to buy copper, you know, where do you go? The answer is you don't. There isn't really a copper shop or a, you know, it just gives so many more options. And that's what I love about what we're doing and what Twin is focused on, is that we are giving options to people to invest into many different types of assets, and ultimately where they can manage their own wealth using DeFi.
Yeah, it's great. It's great that RWAs can give access to more possibilities.
Right.
Yeah. Regarding the gold, and if you know, I am a retail investors, I cannot buy a whole gold, and better I can buy tokens to owning the gold. But you know, for ETFs, people can also buy ETFs. So
Right.
uh,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not here to knock ETFs. You know, I mean, everybody will have their appetite and will decide what's right for them. Where we differ, what I can explain is how we differ from an ETF, is that when you buy our gold token, our VBG token, you're actually buying and owning gold. It's just through a different format, through tokenization. An ETF is essentially a promissory note where you put in your money, but you put your money into a fund, and then that fund goes and manages or invests into the asset. In this case, would be gold. But what happens if the fund that you've invested into, what happens if something goes wrong with the fund, or it's badly managed, or there is a liquidation event? Then suddenly your ETF has potentially lost its value. What I love about tokenization and all those platforms that are following our lead is that buying a token, a gold token, a silver token from Twin, you are actually buying the asset itself, and that is the key difference. And I think that once that is properly understood, then that's really going to bring in or attract a lot of users into tokenization versus, say, ETFs.
Yeah, it's really the advantages, it is decentralization.
Yeah, I mean, it boils down to, do I want to really own gold, or do I want to own a piece of paper that says I own gold? And of course, the answer is A. I want to, yeah.
Sorry, also with ETFs, you can't just easily, exchange your ETF for another asset just, on a Sunday at 2 p.m. or whatever. It's just, it's a much more complicated process. You normally also have to go through a broker who takes a brokerage fee, and then you have yearly management fees to uphold your ETF. So it's an antiquated system that I believe will be just completely replaced by tokenization with time.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's great. Yeah, that's really great. Okay, I think we'll hand over to Pac-Man for the following conversations. Hello,
Hi,
Pac-Man.
I actually have a question. I was thinking, so we talked about this in the last space as well, because we're a blockchain, we're a crypto project. Naturally, people think like we're just another token in crypto, and they think like the token is going to be volatile, and Bitcoin goes up, gold, the token Twin Gold will go up and down. So like for obviously like a lot of people, the high yield for crypto is very important. I think that's probably what attracts more people into crypto, is like they just want to quickly make money. And I know that people lose quickly as well, but that's it's the shiny gold that kind of attracts them to crypto. So I was just wondering, like, how can we make it attractive for like people who are seeking high yield in crypto? And like obviously because the tokenized gold will be always backed by actual gold, so the price will be quite stable compared to the markets and the Bitcoin. So how would that be very attractive for like people who are just seeking to have like high yield? Or to rephrase the question, like how can people earn yield on tokenized gold?
So I can answer that. So obviously, just to be very clear, that crypto investors are definitely like not like our prime target group. Actually, we don't expect them to consist of the majority of token holders when it comes to gold, but still they are very important to us. But we see it sort of differently, in the sense that yes, we offer yield on Twin Gold when you use it together with our utility token Twix, but it's never going to be as high yield as you can get on some crazy platform that's offering 40% yield or something, which it's almost made out of air. The thing is, with our yield, it's actually made in the real world using instruments that are actually creating dollars or fiat, and we use that to buy our own utility token off the market and issue that as a yield because of regulatory constraints, and this is the best way to do it. So, but that's never going to be in that sort of range that you see in the DeFi world. But how we see it is, we're have a partnership with Kylex Finance that you're also working, and co-founder of Pac-Man, and there we see a very interesting opportunity in this respect, because you could look at Twin Gold as an alternative to USDT, USDC. It's another stable coin, but it's backed by gold. The USDC, USDT is backed by dollars, which, what is that backed by in reality? It's backed by the future of the US government, or, their prediction and their economic stability. So if you use Twin Gold in the future on the Kylex platform, you'll be able to take out loans against it. you can borrow other types of assets, which you can then go to these high yield platforms and create this crazy yield. But of course, there's also a risk involved with that. But you are using basically, twin gold as a collateral, and you can go and do what you want. And interestingly as well, I mean, a little bit different from this topic as well, but in Latin America, most of the crypto actually transacted in the whole of Latin America is dollar stablecoins. That's like the majority of everything being transacted on the exchanges, because you're buying it in order to hedge, because their local currency is so unstable. So in markets like that, they're not really getting into crypto because of high yields or making quick bucks on the market, etc. They're just trying to hedge against their own currency. But I can see that twin gold could be a very attractive alternative to fiat stablecoin markets.
It's almost like it's a lot safer and sort of like immune to market conditions and volatility. It's like more of a stable and like sophisticated investment compared to Bitcoin that just keeps going up and down.
Yeah, I mean, but what I will also add is everything that you, Pac-Man and Lisa just mentioned is absolutely correct. But we can also look, as we progress, to offering more risk or more riskier assets in which we use the collateralized gold, where we aim to earn a return. We haven't modeled that so far. We've kept a very conservative position, but DeFi can be open to us. So it may be that we, if we see a demand, and ultimately will it always be up to the token holder themselves? Where do they want to see their proportionate of gold that sits as collateral? Where do they want to see the loans that we're able to take out work? Where do they want it worked? If we see that there is a increasing request or demand for more speculative asset classes, then of course we can look at that. So it's not to say that we, this is something that we would devise, and we will understand where we should position ourselves as we move along. So far, we've kept the monetization model, as I said, to very what's considered to be secure or you can't use the word safe, but yeah, the secure end of the market, for example, like sovereign or corporate bonds, which would be good examples.
Just a quick question. So Lisa mentioned Latin America, and obviously, there are some restrictions and overall, like in some countries, and for example, America, there's a lot of tokens and things that you can't buy because of SEC regulations being a security token. So, but because twin gold will be backed by real gold, do you think it will still have some sort of kind of fencing, or it will be available globally, like literally anywhere, anybody anywhere in the world can buy it?
Okay, so very interesting question. Regulation isn't uniformed, as we all know very well. So we do need to look at each market or each region specifically. A lot of the markets that we're focused on, gold is not a security. Gold is a commodity, and because our token is 1-to-1 backed, so each VBG token is backed by 1 gram of gold. There is no algorithm. It's not synthetic. Therefore, we understand that the regulators will say, so that particular token or our token will also be categorized as a commodity because it's fully backed by a commodity, gold. Where it gets interesting is that as soon as we start to offer our liquid staking, that's when we're clearly moving into securities, because we are talking about a speculative gain, also a speculative loss, which needs to be addressed. So the token itself, simply if you, Pac-Man, were to buy our token in many markets, we see that will be in terms of regulation less complex, because the categorization will be a commodity. But we will need to certainly be licensed and overseen when it comes to the monetization side of our business. And like I said at the start of answering this question, we need to cherry pick, or we need to pick, jurisdictions one by one. I certainly hear encouraging noises coming from North America, because it's not just the United States. Canada is also included and they are also basically off limits. So we're not focusing in our initial phase North America, but we do believe that within a reasonable amount of time that the regulatory environment will allow us to certainly begin by offering, say, our commodity gold token, and as we move forward, we'll be able to sort of extend our services in full.
Yeah, I think your biggest market would probably not be Europe and UK. I think it'll be mostly like emerging markets, especially. I think I mentioned it last time as well, because there's a lot of corruption, a lot of bad actors out there, especially in like third world countries or emerging countries, developing countries. And having tokenized gold, that ensures obviously that's like 100% pure. There's no kind of impurities, and there's no like scams and cheating and stuff. So I think this is where like transparency in blockchain can really play a good part. And I think you're and I think I mentioned last time as well, I come from an Asian background, a Muslim background. Gold is like something that's very kind of cherished, in like family events and like weddings and things like that.
Right.
So, yeah, so that's definitely a huge market for Twin, and I can see this like growing, I think a lot faster in like the Asian region, or the other side of the world, rather than UK and Europe. I'm not saying it won't be successful in UK and Europe. I'm just saying it'll be relevantly more successful on the other side of the world.
We absolutely see an enormous appetite in parts of Asia and in those markets that you just mentioned, Pac-Man. We are heavily in dialogue regarding the Indian market, Brazil, Japan, Korea, not yet China, but we hope that with those that are able to assist us, we will also be able to start looking at the right approach into the Chinese market. But yes, you're right. I mean, gold in India, for example, is really revered, but it's also fraught with danger. Buying gold is dangerous, and buying or being able to buy tokenized gold, and it decreases so many risks, and it also makes it a lot more affordable. So yeah, we are very focused on some markets where we see the appetite is clear to see. We just now need to be ready with our platform, and we need to make sure that we're regulatory compliant, and it's going to be fantastic when we start going into those markets.
Thanks. Lisa, you wanted to add something there?
Yeah, I wanted to just add, because obviously there's a huge difference between also retail and institutional investors, because institutional and high net worth individuals right now, there is a huge appetite for gold, and that's all over the world. They're buying gold, and the prediction in terms of gold is that it's just going to keep on rising quite dramatically. And for example, in India, retail has always bought gold. So, super interesting market. We did an extensive market research on different markets. Turkey as well, very big retail audience on gold. But when it comes to institution and accredited investors, I think it's worldwide. The appetite for gold is almost unprecedented right now. And, that's the first market we're tapping into, really. So,
Yeah, I want to ask, like, obviously, Bitcoin has always been, like, traditionally for years and years, everybody called it the digital gold. Bitcoin has always been the kind of the competitor for gold, if you want to call it. And obviously the main thing for that is like the limited supply, and then the halving event, and like that we know that it's going to be very limited, and compared to gold, where you can just keep mining gold. So how do you think the relationship between them two? And do you think, like, potentially, like, do you think where do you see the most value, in Bitcoin or in gold?
I think, should I answer that, Thomas? Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can add something. I see that Bitcoin and gold will be sort of, joint rulers, you could say. I don't think that, you know, you need to look at them as competitors. I think they will be equally important, and I think the price growth will start to correlate eventually. You know, you'll see a correlation between the two. It's a bit too early now. So far this year, gold has far outperformed Bitcoin, but of course we don't know what's going to happen for the rest of the year. That might change, but there is a limited supply of gold, because all the gold that is on Earth today was supposedly the result of a supernova, or, you know, it was created with this massive heat and explosion. So unless we find gold on Mars and start mining it there is a finite limit to gold, just as with Bitcoin. So, and of course with gold as well, you know, part of the value of gold is also from the mining process, because it's expensive to mine gold. So it's not like you can just go and pick it up easily. It's expensive. So I think, yeah, what we're looking at is basically Bitcoin and gold correlating over time and being equally important.
Yeah, I think it costs more than gold to bring gold back from Mars. You know, I don't think it'll be that easy.
Yeah, and I'd also just add that, you know, I mean, I'm a great fan of Bitcoin, but, you know, we see that it's, you know, it fluctuates dramatically. You know, if you span out and look at what gold has been doing over the last 5 years, for example, it has a much more stable and therefore one could say predictable sort of forecast. So I like the idea that, you know, that as Lisa said, the two can sit side by side. And you know, here's an idea. Perhaps you've done well, and that you see that not just your Bitcoin, let's say some, you know, your portfolio of crypto has done well. You decide to cash out, to take your profit. What better way than to park your profit than put it into tokenized gold? So, you know, there are, I see many synergies between the two assets, and how they can have a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, and also I mentioned earlier about, like, you know, the purity and the credibility of the gold. So for anybody that doesn't, for example, know how it all works in the background for Twin, like how would you say, like, what would give confidence to the users about, you know, the credibility of, like, if it is actually backed by real gold, like 1-to-1 or whatever, and then, like, what challenges, you know, you think you have so far, like trying to convince the community, or, you know, trying to, for example, I'm sure you will have regulatory compliance as well and everything. So do you want to just quickly touch on that and explain the users, one, like, what should give them confidence that this is actually backed by real gold and it's not just like made out of thin air, and secondly, like, right, regulatory compliance.
I mean, I can start, but please, Lisa, also just interject, because it was a lot packed into the question. So Ravenscroft is a licensed and regulated financial entity. In fact, they're a financial group, and one of the businesses inside the group is dealing in precious metals. They've been dealing in precious metals for decades. They are a legacy company. They're highly respected in the space, in their space, and to be LBMA certified is no mean feat. It's a tremendous. You have to go through a tremendous journey to be LBMA certified. LBMA stands for the London Bullion Markets Association. It's right at the top of certification, and you know, that in itself will give confidence, not just to the institutional, but I believe also to the retail side of the market. The gold that is sitting physically in Vault is insured by Lloyd's of London, which is a very prominent insurer. I'm sure many of your listeners will know about them. It's audited. There are checks that the Vault has to do periodically to meet the regulation and to make sure that they're adhering to what the regulator demands. So in that sense, and I think Lisa was the one that brought this up, we like to see ourselves sort of merging the TradFi and DeFi sides. So we're bringing the opportunity, opening up the availability of assets like gold, but we're working with very well tested criteria like robust auditing and having a vault which is insured by one of the world's most prominent insurers. That's the sort of the combination that I see, really making what we're doing attractive and giving the confidence that when you actually buy a token, that your gold is in a vault, it is insured, and there are audits happening periodically, which we will also be reporting and making sure that our token holders also have that information from the audit, so they will see at any time that there is the accurate amount of gold versus the amount of gold tokens that we have sold.
Okay. Lisa, do you want to add anything?
Actually,
I have before you say, I want to add another question to your plate. Like, so also while we're talking about regulatory compliance, how easy was it to like talk to regulators? Like, was it like you actually had to sit with them and educate them like how the tokenization works, or was it quite a straightforward thing? They knew the technology already, and there you go, you are regulatory compliant.
I have found regulators extremely welcoming. Just by sending an email explaining who we are, what we are doing, and asking for a phone call has got me that phone call. There are some out there that perhaps have a slightly dim opinion on regulators. I'm not one of those. I see that regulators, they really embrace when projects are proactive and they approach them. I don't see them wanting to stop progression. They have a job to do, and actually they do a very good job. They do protect specifically retail investors, and there are far too many bad ideas and scams out there, and so I see the value in adopting what DeFi can offer, but I also see the value in what regulators and licensing and adherence to regulation also offers. So no, on the contrary, regulators are, from my experience, are very keen to speak with projects, and are really happy when projects make the step, get in touch. They'd basically like to know what's happening. I also see that regulators are, where they see that perhaps regulation isn't quite up to date, there is this intent to work with projects and to see how regulation can be shaped to really meet how, for example, tokenized assets, what they demand. So I'm very content with the conversations that I've been having, and I haven't had any bad phone calls so far.
Lisa.
Oh, actually, I was just piping in on that we will be publishing the auditing reports that shows how much Twin Trust has in reserve contra how many tokens have been issued. So, but Thomas mentioned it right at the end, so I think he covered all the points.
Yeah, I think that's very important to give investors and especially new users some confidence on, how has it been audited, who's auditing, and how has it been regulated. So we haven't spoken about your journey so far. I know you said you started building 22, 23, the idea came about, but so how far are you in the development, for people, especially the Chinese community from PolkaWorld side, do you want to just give us a quick kind of a trip with you, the memory trip, what's been done so far, and how far you are, and your TGE and basically everything. Lisa, you're in CMO, so let's start with you.
Yeah, sure. So, well, obviously a lot of groundwork was done in 2023, and including 23 and up until sort of, I would say quarter 1, quarter 2, 24, it was a lot of product discovery, deep research, both on market research, but also for the tech team to really understand what was needed, what would make us different. And I think one of the things that we really discovered, also based on conversations we had before we chose who we would have join us on the technical development, is there's lots of platforms out there who says they're tokenizing, and it's just like platforms that are built in a few weeks or maybe a couple of months. you know, and you can imagine like the security aspects of it. It's just plug and play. So, but I think a lot of platforms are just thinking they're not thinking scalability. They're thinking, oh, we're going to tokenize something, offer it to the crypto community. And they're thinking in sort of sums of hundreds of thousands or maybe a few millions. But, you know, nothing of that will fly when you're serving big financial institutions who might transact, you know, several millions, you know, we're talking hundreds of millions potentially. You need to build something that is very robust in terms of security. So we've completed all the architectural development, both on the security side, which, you know, I can't say too much about it because obviously part of the security is also about keeping certain things just very close to heart, and only very few people know about all the aspects, just the C-suite team. And then, but what I can mention is we're using, you know, air-gap solutions with animated QR codes. So we developed our own system for that, which our tech team solved last year. All our servers will be distributed worldwide, put inside Faraday cages, and have this air gap solution. So it's virtually unhackable. Basically, you would have to be, you know, the US military with satellites and know all the locations around the world and do an attempt all at the same time. And even then, it would be very, very complicaed and probably unachievable.
Sounds like something from a Hollywood movie.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, just so you know, we must be careful also how we say, and I agree with Lisa, but maybe a more correct way to put it in, rather than saying virtually unhackable, is that we have multiple layers. Think of it like an onion. And so even if you are able to, if someone is able to get into one or two layers, the likelihood that they're able to compromise all the layers, that's where is what Lisa means. So it's a very well thought out piece of architecture. And actually, very excitingly, we see now that we will be able to white label this solution to others. There is actually one extremely large financial conglomerate in South America, headquartered in Brazil, but they have global operations. They have already made some interesting noises about, you know, the possibility, of course, once the platform is out, once it's been tested, but in principle, taking a white label solution from a very secure platform like we're designing. So, you know, whether it be asset management companies, banks, different funds, we could see actually the Twin platform becoming its own revenue stream, not only providing Twin with the security and the second to none service, but also providing Twin with a great alternative revenue stream through white label licensing.
Okay.
Yes.
Lisa, do you want to add anything?
Yes. So we've also completed the UI UX designs. It can be found on our YouTube and on our Medium page. There's preview videos that is showing what it will look like. And we're probably about 5 to 6 weeks away from a closed alpha on testnet, which would basically mean it's like a clickable prototype that we can show to potential, you know, clients and, you know, test it with them. And then in terms of our utility token Twix, we're now in our private sale and really looking forward to do our TGE with everything that involves, which we are foreseeing will happening now in Q2, which is just around the corner. And in terms of other development, we are seeing that the institutional platform side of the platform, the reason why we're focusing on the institutional and accredited first is just because the regulators like that. They like to see it. And we also believe that the volume is highest there, and it will give us the credibility also towards retail when they see this high volume coming from traditional financial institutions. So that will be towards the end of the year.
So you mentioned the TGE coming soon. So hopefully, obviously, I think the project's really good and it will go really well. So let's say after your seed round and your TGE, everything goes exactly as you plan. In an ideal world, you have all the money in the world, all the resources, and all the people. What's the next steps for Twin? Like, do you want to talk us through the roadmaps? Like, what happens after you've been through the difficult phase of testnet and auditing and mainnet and TGE? And what happens? Like, what should we expect in the next 2 to 3 years?
So basically, we obviously focus a lot on the technical development, and that's natural to talk about in a sort of a crypto setting. But we focus equally, if not more, on business development. We are basically also developing a sales organization, because yes, when you're talking about offering tokenized gold to the crypto market, it's very different. You're not doing sales in the same way. It's more about marketing, typical sort of crypto marketing type of initiatives that we all know. But when it comes to tackling the accredited investor side, ultra high net worth individuals, institutions, family offices, all of that is really about working on business development and establishing these contacts. And we've been doing some tremendous work on that front. We have a very close partner of us, which is a Swiss project structuring advisory firm, which basically are involved in many processes worldwide with institutions. So they are heading up together with us this business development side. We're also actually have some amazing dialogue with business development for Polkadot in Brazil. So he's been doing some amazing research for us. So shout out to Gus from here today. We're following up on that next week, and we're actually keen to get going and have meetings with other BD people within Polkadot, because that's a really unique value proposition I see Polkadot have with these business development arms.
And
sorry, I think I diverted a bit of the question. Yes, we're here to conquer the world. We're going to be the biggest gold token provider worldwide within the next 3 years. Ideally.
No, I think there's so much exciting stuff going on that it's very easy to kind of divert from the thing, because you just want to. I know we're limited on time as well, but you just want to make sure the community knows everything.
Yeah, I was just gonna chip in and say that you said 2 to 3 years. I visualize that we have brought out gold and other precious metals. I visualize that we have brought on chain other valuable assets, and think about this, Pac-Man, that there is then a basket of assets. Perhaps we then have a sort of a token that represents multifaceted assets. There's a token that is backed 25% by gold and 15% by rare earth, or perhaps going into agro commodities. I mean, I'm a huge fan of what tokenization is able to do. With for example, cocoa farming, coffee farming, also providing more and better conditions to the farmers, and actually just simplifying the whole process and making the whole process a lot more transparent. So yeah, there are so many ways in which Twin is going to progress and grow, but certainly having a multifaceted token that is backed by a number of different assets, that would be super cool. So you could have your pure tokens that are backed by gold and other RWAs, but also a token that takes in a little bit of everything.
Nice. We're almost at the end of the hour now. Elisa, quickly, do you want to give people way to find you? What's journey? I mean, I should be telling all this as well. I work with Twin in the marketing, but let's hear it from Lisa. The website, the Twitter and everything.
Sure. So yeah, you can find us at twin.com. So that's TVVIN.com. And there is also a doc section there, so you can easily find out about different aspects of Twin. There's the white paper there, and obviously also links to all our social channels. And of course, on Twitter, twin_RWA. Again, we have a link tree there where you can, easily join our Telegram group or Discord group. We're very welcoming, so we love seeing new people join, and just ask any questions you may have, and we're happy to answer them.
It's nice to have Lisa answer these questions, because it's usually me doing this part of the talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. We're near the end of the hour. Kristen, thanks very much for hosting as well.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Kristen, and thank you, Pacman.
Kristen, you're on mute. You need.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you all for the fantastic insights today. I'm sure our audience has gained a lot from this discussion and what is tokenized gold and what are its advantages and what benefits can users gain. And we hope that institutional and retail investors will follow and reach out to you. And PolkaWorld will also continue to track the latest development and keep everyone updated. A big thank you to Pacman for your continuous support. And I think that wraps up today's broadcast. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. It's been amazing. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Great chat.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.